Hey everybody, Coach here. Hey, you know something? All kidding aside, size does matter, especially when you're on the topic of landscapes for folks. In this particular episode, we're covering what is the right landscape size for you, and more importantly, we'll delve into some of the whys. And I don't know, I think there's about a dozen reasons that I've come up with that can pro and con for larger and pro and con for smaller. Anyway, I'm glad you're here, so let's get started. You know, over the years, I have stumbled across, quite purposely because it was the way I made my living, was coming across folks that were just not congruent with the size of landscape that they had. I have come across people who are huge horticultural fans, love doing lots and lots of outdoor work, but they saddle themselves with a postage stamp size backyard, or even worse, a condominium patio. Now, there are other folks that saddle themselves with a small house and a major league front yard and backyard, things that they have no interest in, but they like the house. So, how do you, as you go out there and shop for your first, 5th, or 10th house in a row, do you ever consider the size of landscape that the home you're starting to focus in on comes with? That's what we discuss here today. Many times, just because we are human and we tend to evolve as we go through life, the persons we are in our 20s and 30s, we are not the same type of person usually in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. The needs and wants that we demand of our yards and landscapes at our first house is not the same needs and wants and purpose that we need from our landscape when we're much older. Why is that? Well, when you're in your 20s, not all of us, but some of us, we tend to have a smaller house so we can afford it. Sometimes with a yard that is perfect, but most of the time there's always something that could have been more thought out. And our focus and attention is generally not on the landscape so much. We're inundated in getting careers off the ground. Kids are on the way, kids are here, busy, busy, busy lives. We've all been there. There comes a turning point in people's lives where those things I just mentioned, careers and kids and other things, well underway. Maybe you can even see the light at the end of the tunnel. And life is just a little more settled. Sometimes these are the folks that I came in contact with a lot who said, we really want to update. And what it is now is not what we want to do for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Then there comes the empty nesters that no longer need a huge yard. Or empty nesters that said, I'm tired of grass. Give me some fruit trees, a vegetable garden, lawnless landscape, because I don't want to mow grass no more. So you can see how people's attention and also focus tend to shift, and how the landscape has to serve a different need as we go through time. Now, one of the things I came across quite a bit during consulting, designing, and construction is I came across non-congruent couples living within the same house. You had one half of the family that was just all about making sure the outdoor area served the function that they want. And then there was the other half that basically acted like they were being held hostage by this yard. They didn't want to do any yard work. They had no desire. The ball game was on, or kids' dance recital was coming up, or whatever it was. Didn't give a crap about mowing lawns. Didn't give a crap about taking care of big things or improving things or putting a deck in or nothing. It was all about family, or it was all about work. And the landscape was never ever congruent because one person didn't give a damn, the other person wanted to put money into it, and there was always loggerheads going on. And oftentimes I kind of came in as a referee, and they hired me to do designing, and then we kind of drew it up in a compromised fashion. I have been at kitchen and dining room tables over the years where, check out my book and the course, and you will hear about a couple of stories. Oh my God, time to exit stage left because the police were coming. And I'm not kidding. Congruency and compromise are a great way to get through these kinds of issues when it comes to all things outside the back door or all things in the front yard. So, in looking at that, you have to look at it from an honest perspective. You have to look at it as, I'm at a point in life now where the kids are gone. All I have is a dog and a husband or a wife. And we don't need that big, huge lawn anymore that the kids used to play on. Nobody uses the pool anymore. Personal experience noted. And now we need to kind of rethink this a bit. The kids are off to college. One of them's already out and married, and they live a few hundred miles away. So what do we need to do? What purpose does our landscape need to serve in order for us to remain happy? Or do we need to fix it up and sell and maybe start to downsize as we get into our 50s and 60s? Decisions to be made. What I have seen through personal experience is I have seen a boy here who was raised on a 2.5 acre horse ranch. Horses were the focus of the family. They really were. At least for my mom. Not for Pops. Not at all for Pops. And the yard always kind of suffered in certain ways. You know, there's always the animal waste. There's always the care, the grooming. Never could go anywhere. The horses needed this, the horses needed that. And so I kind of grew up with a horse ranch, but never a landscape situation. And I noted that when I went off to school and I started to get into the horticultural world. I would bring things home once in a while and plant it up for Mom. Dad was he moved on in his life, and I started trying to landscape the thing. But Mom wasn't into that. It really wasn't. She was not into maintenance of any kind. It was all about the horses. So, long story short, the yard, the home, and everything else kind of fell into disarray. And the values of it, valued at well over $1 million at one point, yeah, it slipped to just below $500,000 on sale. So you can see how you kind of narrow your market a little bit when you focus in on just one particular part and function of what your landscape is going to do. Had it been kept up, had it been lush and green, at least around the house, probably would have fetched a lot bigger dollars. And that's something I want you guys to think about. If you think it's all about new paint and new flooring, yeah, you kind of have to look at what's outside too. You can have a beautiful house inside, but you got garbage outside, you're not going to attract as many buyers and get as many offers. So remember that as you go through your real estate journey. So I tend to come from a school of thought where a larger landscape is a better landscape. And I'm going to share some ideas with you here, both for larger and smaller landscapes. And maybe it'll kind of open your eyes just a little bit as to where I'm coming from. So if you have the opportunity, or you currently own a home with a larger landscape around you, and I'm not necessarily meaning 20 acres, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm basically talking to folks that are in the suburbs. Maybe you have a quarter, third, or a half acre lot. Now, larger landscapes bring a few things into your world that smaller landscapes do not. Let's take a look at a few of them. Number one, the opportunity for growth and expansion. You may originally have a big yard that has nothing but wall-to-wall turf because the kids need a place to play, a safe place to play. Doggo needs a place to run and cut and do all the things that doggos do. Growth and expansion can give you that opportunity when you have a larger yard. Number two, variety. And when I speak to variety, I am talking about variety of different vignettes, different areas of the larger landscape that can be developed to serve the functions and purposes for everybody. For instance, a pool, a man cave or a she shed, an extra garage, maybe a large vegetable garden to start feeding the family from the house, maybe a little bit of a mini orchard out there where you can grow some fruit trees. Maybe you have a half-court basketball like I had at one of my last houses in California. It really served a good function for older kids at the time. So you have that variety that a larger yard can offer. Number 3, space for entertaining. Have you ever gone to somebody's house and they have, say, 20 family and friends come over for a birthday or for some kind of a gathering, and the backyard is like a postage stamp patio, hardly any lawn if anything, and nobody can congregate out there. So it ends up spreading out from the yard to the house to the garage because there is no other space. A larger yard can create a much larger area for entertaining if you're into that. Larger patios, outdoor kitchens, maybe a hot tub, lighting, speakers, other things that can come into a larger area, and you can expand on it still with the size of the yard. You can get as fancy as you want with fire pits and other things. Makes a great staycation ability when you have something a little bit larger. Number 4, a very, very important one in this day and age, I feel, is space for the kids. Space for the kids where they can have an area when they're younger. Then that area might close down a little bit, like a swing set or teeter-totters or whatever, jungle gym, houses, cabins, slides, that kind of thing. Kids outgrow it, and they outgrow them really fast. Now you got this play area that you could roll over and expand into something different. So for the kids, maybe say ages toddler to 10-ish, 12-ish, if you can still get kids outside to play, you know, a larger yard is going to serve a better purpose. Large lawn area to play like two-man soccer on or whatever it is. Hey, number 5, space for luxuries. How about a second garage for that fancy car that Dad is always wishing he could have? How about an area for a home-based business where you can have a shop back there for woodworking or whatever you could create a home-based business out of? Many times a larger yard affords you that space where you can actually consider it, when smaller ones just do not. And number 6, the downside. Everything costs more in a larger landscape. More lawn, bigger deck, more concrete, bigger irrigation. So there is a downside to it. So now let's take a look at the smaller landscapes. What is the pros and cons of smaller landscapes? So smaller landscapes, number 1, it does offer less options. The options that I just mentioned in larger landscape, pros and cons, yeah, it's not quite as expansive at all. Oftentimes, depending on the size, it can be quite limited. You have to really get creative, and then you have to match your needs and wants to the size of that smaller landscape. Compromise, reduction in size, reduction in wants may come into play. Number 2, a big positive for some of you, and that is reduced maintenance time. You don't have to spend as much time out there nipping and tucking and mowing and pruning and planting and keeping everything nice because the area is much smaller. Number 3, increased options away from landscape maintenance. Big plus for a lot of people. Maybe you're involved in a traveling sports team. Maybe you got kids that are on the road for cheerleading, baseball, who knows what. Maybe you travel and go fishing every weekend. A much smaller landscape, a lawnless landscape, one that is really catered to your lifestyle both now and for several years. Big plus for a lot of people. Number 4, maybe it's your first home and a smaller landscape is sometimes much more appealing to someone who has come from maybe apartment life, and now you have this yard that is going to need maintenance, care, improvement, renovation. It's much easier to take on a small yard and incrementally, gradually improve your skill set. So if you do move up to a larger place with a bigger yard, you have acquired the skill set and confidence where you can still DIY it if you want to. Number 5, you can create smaller, more intimate spaces. I can remember one of my houses in Vallejo, California. We're talking from the back slider to the back fence was less than 30 feet and about 50 feet wide. That was not a very big yard. And the creativity I had to bring to bear on it so that it provided some form of usage for young kids, yeah, it was quite a challenge. So a smaller, more intimate space can tend to make one feel you can doll it up just a little bit more because the cost factor isn't quite as much as a larger, bigger yard. So you can have small audio systems. Maybe you have a small hot tub. Maybe you just have a bistro set on a condo patio. Whatever it is, you can really dial it down and make it very special, and your dollars will tend to stretch a little bit more. Number 6, smaller yards. You generally can't expand on them, huh? They are kind of a finite space, and you can only do so much. And I have been to some customers' homes where they've taken a dinky yard and created a hoarder mess because they love doing that outdoor gardening stuff so much, but they had a very limited space to do it in. Holy crap, fences were covered. There was more pottery and overgrown trees and everything. And it was just, she wished she had a freaking acre is what she wished she had. And instead, kind of a overgrown mess. So it's a finite space that you just can't expand on. So what I've seen and what I've also experienced personally is that we tend to upsize as we get through our 20s, 30s, and 40s. We get into homes that have bigger this and bigger that. And just remember that eventually you're going to come to a point in life where it's just a little too much. Something happens in people's lives where we suddenly have to turn off that large yard experience and start thinking futuristically for the golden years. And a lot of things happen. Those empty nest syndromes, but also when you get into things of health issues, deaths, divorces, all kinds of things where suddenly one person is left to care for what so-and-so did for decades. Oh, George used to take care of the yard all the time, and then he got hit by that truck, and now I've got this big yard I got to take care of. Okay? So oftentimes people go, nope, I'm done with this, and I got to go back and take care of myself, get a little closer to my family, and I'm not taking care of this big yard anymore. Happens all the time. So if you look at it from the aspect of which landscape size is right for you, it may flutter throughout your lifetime. And you have to seriously consider it if you're in the market for purchasing a home. It's not just how many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms, but what are you going to have to take care of out the back door and out your front door? Is it the right size for everything considered? I hope I opened your eyes to it just a little bit. I appreciated your time, and if you're still with me right now, I'd appreciate a subscribe and hit the like button. I do have the website always available to you, youryardcoach.com, for the book, the course, and some other products now that I'm marketing. You might want to peruse on over there. Don't forget the Amazon page. And as always, to your landscape success, I will see you next Friday. Thanks for giving me a week off, which really wasn't a week off. We had lots of shorts we had to do, and we had to take care of family. So, see you next Friday, guys. Thanks. Bye for now.